Thank you for joining SimpleFi's webinar on BPC 11. We'll cover today the new feature functionality in BPC 11. We'll do a quick demo. We'll discuss upgrade and migration paths for existing customers, as well as hosting options, which is particularly relevant to Microsoft customers and NetWeaver customers looking to get their feet wet in HANA. And we'll also be doing a badge giveaway to SAP Financials event, which is mid-February, about 3 weeks out from now. So just quickly, some brief background on myself. Not the greatest picture. I'm told to change this, but I have I think 11, 12 years experience now with OutlookSoft and BPC in the EPM space. For the past 9-ish years, I've been implementing planning, consolidation solutions, analytic solutions, specifically targeted to the CFO's office. So working with controllers as well as finance, FP&A directors and those type of roles. Those are typically my clients. I did start on the corporate side before I got into consulting. So, like I mentioned, I was actually a OutlookSoft 4.2 administrator. So I ran our FP&A process and our consolidations process. I come from a finance background. I'm a CPA. I had worked in various financial roles, including, initially audit. And that's it. At SimpleFi, I am responsible for our solution and sales area. All right, so just a quick background on SimpleFi. We are an organization 100% dedicated to SAP solutions, specifically SAP's analytics solution space, which includes EPM, BPC, both standard and optimized versions, Microsoft, NetWeaver, HANA, SAP Analytics Cloud, which is SAP's premier analytics tool. We were just at SAP's kickoff meeting last week, going through their updated roadmaps and everything, and SAP Analytics Cloud is definitely continuing to get a huge focus and push from SAP in investments. So really looking at that tool as a go-forward analytics tool at SAP. The other thing we do really well is SAP integration. We come from an OutlookSoft background, but have been working with SAP, ERP and other solutions for the past 7, 8+ years now. And our consultants, on average, have 8+ years. 7, 8+ years experience in the SAP area as well. We provide mainly implementation services. We also resell software, and we provide upgrade and managed services. So if you have administrators that has left the company, we'll backfill and actually help you run your consolidations close or your FP&A planning cycle. Within the space, we were the first North American partner recognized as with recognized expertise in enterprise performance management. As a designation that we got through customer references, through use cases, and through our consultants' certifications. So just one thing to note about our company, our company's goal is 100% referenceable customers. We've achieved that goal. We've been in business for 3 years. We've been as a leadership group together for the last 9 or 10 years. Most of our consultants have worked together a long time, but our company was really founded on the idea that we want to add value to our customers, be strategic partners, and that none of those implementations can fail, right? So that's it. That's the background, quick background on us. We're going to start with giving you an overview of SAP's new BPC 11 version for BW for HANA. The area of focus of BPC and BPC 11 is similar to as it has been historically. So for those of you new to BPC, The P in, stands for planning, and the C stands for consolidations. So you can build, your annual budget in BPC. You can start by just collecting and aggregating data, automating that process so that you don't have to manually, ship files back and forth for your departmental plan, for your sales plan, for your CapEx plan. That's certainly one big level of value that you can get out of the solution. And you can also build driver-based planning into the solution. So you can focus on what are your key drivers, for example, volumes, pricing, costing information, average salaries, any of these drivers that you have in your business that you would build into an Excel planning model, you can build into a BPC solution. And that way, as you go and you build your budget and you build, your forecast thereafter, BPC can do all the math and hard work for you. So you can have one person over here, on your pricing team taking care of that, someone else taking care of your volumes, for example. BPC will do the math and come up with the output for you. And then when it comes to forecasting, within the system, you can easily throw up actuals. And if you build it driver-based, then you can actually just focus on those key drivers for the out months. And again, BPC will update your forecast for you and provide the results in print-ready format. So it takes a lot of the effort of that monthly and quarterly forecast away, where you really manage it by delta, as opposed to rebuilding that whole thing offline again. Next on here, consolidations. BPC does consolidations very, very well. Legal entity consolidations, management consolidations. Also, has a ETL tool that comes built into it to do transformations and conversions of your data. So if you have, 20 different general ledger systems, you can use BPC to create one central set chart of accounts with those mappings all managed by finance and not by IT. And then financial reporting and analysis. So it's a great Excel reporting solution. So really the focus, SAP has invested a lot in BPC 11, come out with that at the tail end of last year. And that sits on top of the simplified BW for HANA platform only. So it doesn't sit on top of Microsoft. The newest version doesn't sit on top of legacy BW 7.5 platform. It only sits on top of the BW for HANA platform using the HANA database. And the reason for that, as it's been explained to me, is SAP really wants to focus their future investment and development on one platform and not be updating, 2, 3 different versions. Allow them to move, hopefully, a lot faster. And I think we've seen that with this version. There have been quite a few enhancements and quite a few things on the roadmap as well. So with BW for HANA, from a web perspective, you have simplified planning models. It has simplified data loading processes, so there's less data replication on the back end, meaning you have to pay for less space, pay for less hardware, and simplicity from a perspective of one solution for planning consolidations that's never changed. Openness, so it does integrate easily with third-party solutions. So, BPC still uses that Excel interface that it had historically, still uses the data manager. All the bones of the solution are really still there, and SAP has built enhancements on top of that. One of those being enhancements with integration into their analytics tool set as well. Having the ability to integrate with big data sets, sitting on top of BW for HANA. You can pull in large data sets and do more detailed analysis before you even get to BPC, and that's a great application for SAP Analytics Cloud. A modern interface, so that's a big part of their investment, and high performance. So to me, those are the two big ones outside of the integration with SAP Analytics Cloud solution. So the interface has definitely been updated. We'll go through that demo. So that is looking good. From a performance perspective, a couple things. One, running this on HANA, you're going to typically get much better performance than you would with a legacy NetWeaver or Microsoft shop, and we'll go through some more details with that as well. But also from a calculation engine perspective, they've pushed a lot of the calculations into the in-memory HANA layer, which can improve improve that significantly. So you might have a script logic package that today, takes 20 minutes and tomorrow could take 2 minutes. You might have a report that today takes 4 minutes and tomorrow it could take 20 seconds. So this is pretty substantial, and I'll talk through an example of this later on. So the value proposition for BW for HANA, simplified data integration. So like I said, less data replication. It doesn't require all the same staging areas. From a total cost of ownership perspective versus competitors, Hyperion and the cloud vendors, you've got one solution for planning and consolidations. You're not hiring multiple people to manage these different applications. You're not, buying 2 sets of licenses and different infrastructure. It's a big differentiator. Obviously, faster time to close, responsiveness. Visualizations, like I said, to me, that's the big one. SAP Analytics Cloud, it sits on top of it, reads it real time. Flexible financial planning, good, unified planning consolidation. Performance is a big one. And then especially, again, for Microsoft customers and NetWeaver customers just getting their feet wet into HANA, there are a lot of different options to look at post-it managed services so that you don't have to worry about the infrastructure at all. You manage the application from a functional perspective like you normally would, and you go to these providers for your managed services. So we talked about the enhanced user experience already. One of the other nice functionalities sitting on top of BW for HANA is there is the ability to leverage predictive algorithms with SAP's PAL, their predictive algorithm library. So you can build formulas that are processed at the HANA layer to analyze, for example, historical customer product trends or volumes, and then run those algorithms, calculate the results, and populate them into BPC for you. So you can, leverage these predictive capabilities that are already built into HANA to help plug in to BPC. And that allows you, so if you, go through a few of these predictive algorithms and you find a use case that really makes sense from a what-if scenario analysis perspective for your company, that allows you to rerun and rechurn that same analysis and feed that into, a scenario analysis template example in BPC. And there's still the integration, obviously, with non-SAP systems as well as SAP systems. Nothing is changing here. From a front-end perspective, SAP EPM add-in is still your Excel interface. So obviously, they continue to release new versions of that. But moving to BPC 11, you're changing your underlying technical infrastructure. You're changing your web interface. You're updating your performance. Your Excel plugin stays the same. So for those of you new to BPC, the Excel add-in, which we will not focus on a lot today, is very robust. I've seen a lot of the other solutions out there. I think it's pretty hard to beat the EPM add-in. I mean, you could create very print-ready financial statements and reports. You don't have to extract it and then reformat it and do all these other things to it. So to me, as a user and implementer of BPC, the EPM add-in, I think, is, as well as, HANA and the performance is one of the big differentiators. Agility. So, I mentioned earlier, that this web interface has been updated. So these are a couple examples. We'll go through the demo. I'm not going to spend a lot of time here. But it is pretty neat. So as you create these, you can, you don't need an IT person. You can do this on the fly. You could pin it to your home page. And then again, this also integrates with SAP Analytics Cloud, which, for example, from a data warehousing perspective, you can utilize BPC for management reporting for high-level centralized data warehousing to run all your calculations and everything on. You can utilize SAP Analytics Cloud to deploy to your sales team, to deploy to your departmental managers, not only from an analytics perspective, but also from a planning perspective. And utilizing the public cloud that is, more affordable than historically it would be to buy BPC licenses. So this is what the hybrid approach looks like. SAP has been investing a lot in this. The analytics are cool because they are real time. So when you look at SAP Analytics Cloud, which is very similar to, if you've worked with like Power BI before, you've worked with Lumira, very, very, very similar tools. And in fact, in a demo a few weeks ago, I had, or a couple months ago, I had someone kind of say like, I don't know if Power BI is full for them or if they full for them, but these are kind of the same thing. But the advantage is you don't have to integrate, you don't have to set up a SQL server, very, very similar tools, but it sits right on top of the BPC tool set. And if you are an SAP shop, it sits on top of S4 as well. So this is really, SAP Analytics Cloud is really a big focus for SAP going forward, as I said. The other thing to consider is cloud deployment with BPC 11. We've seen a lot more customers going to the cloud. 2 years ago, that was a different story. Last year, at least in the Midwest for me, which is where I'm focused, this became a very serious conversation for a lot of companies, and saw more of just default, we're going to the cloud, we're not going to do this in-house. So it's been kind of interesting how that's evolved since the earlier days when, people would say like HANA or cloud and put like quote marks around it and laugh. Like this stuff is all being, accepted and taken very seriously, right? It's simple to have someone else manage this for you and it's cost effective. And it can also accelerate your deployment, so you don't have to worry about, setting up a BW for HANA server. You can utilize a provider to configure that for you, who has experience configuring these environments. So you can get it set up pretty fast, shift from CapEx to OpEx. So the way that you look at what these expenses represent is a little bit different. Free up your internal IT professionals, not have to be reliant upon you. You can be, if the server side issue comes up, you can be reliant on someone who's available 24/7, and this is all they do, right? They don't do desktop setup. They don't do, these 40 other things. The subscription is still purchased through SAP, and it's brought to your hosting provider. We talked about the predictive capabilities, the big data capabilities a little bit already, but again, that's nice functionality, that's been built into HANA for a while. But now, SAP is really pushing this as their go-forward platform for the new version of BPC 11. More people can utilize it. SAP can churn through, SAP HANA's database can churn through massive amounts of data. So, typically with BPC, Microsoft, and NetWeaver customers, there's no perfect algorithm, but, if you're implementing EPM, you might want to stop at, 50,000 customers or 30,000 or 90,000 products or whatever. It's different for every customer, it's different version by version. But what's cool about, the HANA solution is, I have a customer with 200,000 customers in their dimension, and you can run a report that only takes a few seconds. So it really expands the type of data that you can bring into your EPM applications with the in-memory HANA database. And then just as well on the, data warehouse side, there's a lot of modeling and other things you can do through SAP HANA Studio. So SAP is moving away from SAP GUI and moving towards this Eclipse interface, which is familiar to a lot of developers. And I think simplifies that back end, right? Moving away from SAP GUI, I don't think is something people complain about. So yeah, really on one platform, bringing together their data warehousing capabilities, SAP Analytics Cloud, BPC, and reporting on S4 HANA. All right. So with that said, I'm going to go ahead and do a quick demo. Or I'm sorry, no. First, let's go through. I'm cutting this. yeah, let's get to the demo first, and then we'll come back to this. Okay, so very quick, I'm actually running this out of Chrome. It seems to run better out of Chrome than Internet Explorer. I got a couple glitches in Internet Explorer, but that may just be my version or whatever. So this is the new user interface, UI5 for BPC 11. So it has a lot of the same content, but it's packaged a little bit differently. So you can go to your home page, you can pin favorites, your library, activities, this is where you hold your process flows, which really puts steps around your financial planning process, puts steps around your consolidation process. Your library is where you hold your different web reports and dashboards. A process monitor, which provides visibility as to where people are at in their planning consolidation steps, consolidations, administration to manage your master data and your categories and everything. This is a finance zone tool, so you shouldn't be needing anyone from an IT perspective outside of your managed services or your basis for 90% of the solution. From a data management perspective, with integration and BW, if you're an SAP shop with the coordination of the warehouse and everything else, you'd still work with the BW person. And then lastly, system reports on here. So I'm just going to show a couple examples in the newer web interface. If I click on library, look on exchange rates, I can update and save back our exchange rates in here. So this report just refreshes and go back. A quick example of a report, product mix report that's been created. So these graphs and things are pretty easy to create, and I think on this updated version look pretty nice. So for this basic analytics and visualizations, you don't need SAP Analytics Cloud. When you really want to do very, what I would say boardroom ready presentations, that's when that analytics tool, becomes very, very handy. But this solution provides some pretty nice home and dashboards right out of the box with BPC, and it takes almost 2 minutes to build this. Also want to show the process flows. So, if you've ever seen a BPC demo before, this should look pretty familiar. But, clicking through these, you click on your process flows, look at your different activities. You can run your consolidations process in BPC. You can publish it out to all of your different territories. Again, run your annual budgeting process in here, and you click in here, and this will take you through your revenue planning, your expense planning, just guide you through really step by step. Other activities and process flows in here: intercompany matching, local data entry and report. So again, this is just kind of a updated, new, nice look and feel for this solution. And then the other thing, SAP has published they actually updated their demo environment at the end of the year. They haven't published it yet to partners, but I want to share this because they put together some cool analytics on BPC 11. So this just should give you an idea of how these tiles and reports and everything can come together. So this is an example home screen in BPC 11. So on the left, they have my favorites. We have a tile for revenue split by different markets or product areas, a tile for cumulative gross margin. So you can just pin these on and you can set them up as a default. And then another tile off to the right here that shows current activities. So on here, I can click on our full screen button here, and it'll just launch right into this graph. We can change the chart type, for example, just to kind of show you how this works. So we change the vertical bars of our product mix or market mix. We can change that to a line chart. So it's pretty easy. And again, you can combine these and create, dashboards and pin these as an output of this. So you can change that back. I'm going to click into Activities next, we can look at all of our activities or overdue activities, so you can attach calendars to that, so that's pretty nice. Our upcoming activities, so updating the Q3 forecast, for example. I'm going to go back and click on our library and drill into our gross margin trend for a reforecast. So you can show, again, you can customize and add together these grids and these different charts. So I come in here for our France region, and I can see our gross product trend. I can click on the individual points in the chart, and it will actually highlight the values for us. And then, like I said, we can pin this to our home screen here. So we click on that button, it actually adds it. We go back to our home screen, we see it there. Next, I just want to go through a quick example of a forecast process. So we can click into our reforecast revenue, refresh that sheet. So what this is showing is our revenue by month, quarters, and years for actual. And if we click over to our forecast periods, we can see our out months for Q3, July through September. We can update this in the web, submit these numbers back, save them, and now they're available for both the web reporting as well as the EPM Excel add-in reporting. And then once done, we just hit done, finish it, and we can log off and log back on, for example, as another user, and we can see that data that's been submitted. So that's it, just a quick demo. I was tempted to show some of the other integration with SAP Analytics Cloud, but I don't want to take too long before we do the giveaway. Be happy to do that as a follow-up. We did a webinar on that late last year as well. So for those of you looking to move to BPC 11, just want to, again, go through the roadmap a little bit, hosting options, and then we'll talk about migration path at the end here. So recent innovations in the solution, obviously the big one is the user experience transformation. So I think you can probably see that they've made some pretty big strides, pretty big changes, updates there, made that a lot more user friendly. They've also enhanced, didn't show that, but they've enhanced the collaboration functionality. This is fully supported. The current version is fully supported by not only the hosting providers that are sponsoring this, but Amazon Web Services. If you want to pay a lot of money, SAP will host it for you themselves. But you can go on Amazon's website and, procure a BPC environment for yourself in a matter of minutes. And then the other big recent innovation, like I said, is the integration with SAP Analytics Cloud, which we'll always be happy to show at another date. But that's pretty cool functionality. Actually, if you come to financials, we're doing a workshop on SAP Analytics Cloud, and part of what we're showing is how that sits on top of BPC. They basically just point to the BPC model and it creates it in a couple minutes. And then it's real time thereafter. So they've invested a lot of that in BPC 11. With some of our existing customers, we've been pushing SAP to make sure they go back to version 10.1 and get some of this stuff working. But they've been focusing on BPC 11 as a big part of that. In 2018, this is their published roadmap. SAP is going to be focused on consolidation enhancements, especially for large enterprise companies, pushing some of the logic engine down to SAP HANA, continuing to update and invest in their collaboration. In SAP Analytics Cloud, there's some pretty cool and neat collaboration functionality. So I'm hoping some of that will get converted over to BPC as well. In 2019, product division, advanced journals, consolidations of investments, redefining and pre-configuring some of that. Continued business process flow improvements, integration with SAP Predictive Analytics, integration with SAP Success Factors, which that would be a nice enhancement. So this is just a snapshot. This can change at any point, but this is kind of the current snapshot of what this looks like. And then again, from my perspective, I wanted to talk about the performance, a little bit. So if you're a legacy Microsoft or NetWeaver customer, if you're a legacy Hyperion customer, the performance on the HANA database is very impressive. I was just talking to our hosting provider yesterday. They're working with a customer where they just migrated their BPC NetWeaver environment over to BW4. They're about a $3 billion company. Now, I don't think a ridiculously huge data set, but they have some reports that currently, are big and take 4.5 minutes to run. And Tom from PCS, our hosting provider, is saying on BW4, those reports are taking like 10 seconds. So I would certainly not, expect that in every instance. A lot of times in the reports, a lot of hard work can be done in the Excel add-in to really get everything formatted, print ready for you. So, HANA isn't necessarily going to cut down on any of that. But when you're looking at larger data sets and when your query times are really due to, pulling data back from the database, HANA, performs well above and beyond what Microsoft and NetWeaver versions did historically. Like I said, it actually changes the level of detail completely that you can pull into a EPM warehouse like this. And then from a allocation and driver perspective, like I said, SAP's been working to push those those calculations down to the HANA engine, calculate them on the database layer, so that you're able to take advantage of faster performance there as well. So next, I just want to talk about cloud deployment options for BPC. SAP, this is SAP slide. So SAP, they're saying, is committed to supporting customer choice and providing solution options that best support customer success. So at that point, they've partnered with a lot of different vendors, a couple that we'll go through in a minute here, and also AWS, Azure, to make sure, yes, BPC is not a SaaS solution, but it is a cloud-ready solution where your infrastructure can be managed as a service. So again, what that means to you is that your hosting provider can take care of the underlying technology, the hardware. They basically become, your server manager for you, right? So anything on the application side would still be up to your company or up to your functional partner. But everything on the hardware and server side that would be done internally by your IT department, your hosting provider can provide those services for you. So it's infrastructure as a service is the terminology for it. So next, I'm just going to cover off a couple of the companies that we partner with for hosting. So first off is Symmetry. They've been around for 20 years. They focus on SAP managed services, upgrades, installations. They're an SAP partner, also focused on quality. So they've got Net Promoter Score very high. So leading the cloud hosting and app managed industry, the score of 55. I'm reading the materials they're providing me on that one. I know the quality is a big focus for them, but I can't validate that statistic. So I'm sure if they put it on there, it's right. So yeah, they're focused on quality, been around for a long time. Not a small company, mid-tier shop to larger shop. This should give you a good high-level summary of the services that Symmetry provides. So again, for example, if you were to engage in Symmetry, they would take care of everything soup to nuts for you outside of the application side necessarily. That typically you would handle that either in-house or work with a functional consulting partner like SimpleFi. Our other partner is Pacific Cloud Services, and just the differences between these companies. Symmetry has is a pretty big shop for a hosting partner. Pacific Cloud services is also fairly large. They're a little bit more specialized, so not quite as big as Symmetry, but very focused on the SAP BPC space. And they have a solution called Compass, which if you are migrating from BPC Microsoft to NetWeaver, can help you with that migration process. So a couple options, again, in addition to Amazon Web Services, Azure, but a company like Symmetry or PCS or there are other companies out there would provide the managed services to you. And I know they'd be happier to host it on their own certified environments. So next, we're going to talk a little bit about the BPC roadmap for existing customers. So before we do that, we're at the conclusion of that. We are going to do the giveaway for the badges that we advertise on this webinar. And I apologize, I was supposed to do that in the beginning. So I'm going to cover these next two slides. For those of you who are interested in going to SAP Financials, please look at your chat bar on your GoToMeeting and send events at SimpleFi a chat message. I want to make sure the badges we are giving away are going to people that definitely, that want to utilize these badges. So I'll pause there. Send a question if you're having an issue finding that chat bar. And on your GoToWebinar, you should see a button for chat. You click the drop down and say send chat to events at SimpleFi Organizer, and you can ping Lauren with a note right there and saying you're interested in the badge giveaway. Okay. So while you are doing that, I will finish these roadmaps. Actually, this doesn't take long. I know I said people could drop, before this point, but make sure you chat Lauren if you're interested. If you're not interested in the badges, please drop. For the legacy customers, I am going to cover off this quickly for you. So this on the bottom is a screenshot of SAP's roadmap. So just to reiterate it, I think kind of covered it a little bit earlier, but SAP's go-forward BPC solution that they're continuing to invest a lot in runs on their SAP BW for HANA platform only. It does not run on a legacy NetWeaver database, or NetWeaver platform, I should say. It does not run on a Microsoft platform. It runs only on BW for HANA. So for example, on the Microsoft side, version 10.1 support is published to end 12/31. Version, this should say 10.0, so that's an error on my side. Version 10 support is published to end 12/31/2020. SAP typically extends their support dates, but they may not. But the purpose of this visualization, which SAP created, is to make sure it's clear that this is the go-forward platform. They will not be investing in Microsoft or NetWeaver platforms outside of making sure things work through the end of their support period. Okay. Please feel free to ask questions if that's not clear. So again, if you are a Microsoft customer, you can move over a lot of your hard work to the new platform. We'll talk about what can migrate and what cannot next. Same thing on the NetWeaver side. Essentially, you're leveraging a new underlying platform, but the way the application looks and feels is the same, plus the enhancements that we talked about today. Okay, so next slide on here, existing customers or migration. I just, created this quick cheat sheet. So this is by object if you're an existing customer. So reports, inputs, dimensions, model, security, blah, blah, blah. Okay. And the first column is BPC Microsoft, second column BPC on HANA, regardless of version. So for BPC Microsoft, SAP currently, that doesn't mean that they won't, does not technically have a migration tool. I talked about PCS, one of our hosting partners. One of the things that they do, if you decide to utilize PCS as a hosting partner, is they have built their own migration tool that just moves this over for you as part of the service. So they actually, you sign up for their hosting, I think they essentially include that as part of the package. That being said, so if you utilize their pre-built migration tool, a lot of what's in BPC Microsoft can move over, within a day or two, right? There are other BPC partners out there that have gone through this process many times. I know migration tool is very handy. However, the core application, everything that's listed under migration tool here, can be moved over and stood up within a week, even without the formal migration tool. Utilizing SAP's extraction, standard extraction and conversion and upload tools, these things don't actually need to be rebuilt, even without that format tool. You can essentially extract and reload from Microsoft to NetWeaver without, creating a lot of customization. Just takes a little time. But again, your BPC Microsoft application set can be stood up in under a week with, a large majority of your hardware all moved over. Okay, so that includes your reports, your inputs, your dimensions, your models, your security, your data integration for your dimensions, that's what it's called master data integration, and your data integration for your transactional data, your numerical data. On Microsoft, if you used SSIS, custom SSIS, or whatever they're calling that now, SSAS, or whatever, you've got to rebuild that. If you use standard BPC transformation and conversion tools, you can migrate that. Okay. Dimension formulas on BPC Microsoft require unit tests and converting required syntax. So I know, some vendors have worked to, build some of this in the migration tools. I'm not sure how far along that is, but there are some kind of standard just changes in syntax to dimension formulas and script. So even though I'm saying it's I wouldn't quite say it's a rebuild, because it's more you go through the script and you change the syntax, and then you do need to test it, obviously. So if you have a lot of custom BPC script, some of those things are going to need to be, adjusted for the new syntax. Next column, the BPC on HANA. So essentially, what you need to do is, if you are a legacy BPC NetWeaver shop, if you're not on HANA, if you're on 10.0, you need to migrate to 10.1 first before you go to 11. And preferably, what you need to do, what we've seen has worked, at least internally and out to date, when we're trying to upgrade these older ones, is move to 10.1 on HANA, run the conversion program to move yourself to HANA, and then when you go to 11, we haven't experienced issues. But if you don't go through all those steps in the right order, we've run into problems. But yeah, your reports, your inputs, your dimensions, your model security, master data integration, transactional data integration, that's actually a little bit of an error on my part. That does change. It simplifies. If you didn't build your transactional data integration highly customized, if you utilize standard BPC functionality, looking at your underlying info providers, then it really should move over. But what does change is, again, my technical person can audit me, but the PSA or whatever isn't required anymore. So the underlying, objects for BW for HANA are a little different, and they're simpler, and there's less replication. But if you didn't heavily customize things, then there isn't much work to do here. Outside of setting up the new BW objects. Dimension formula scripts, based off the applications we've reviewed to date, we haven't had much problems with these, moving from version to version. So that is good news. So with that said, hopefully that gave everyone another 5 minutes to, if they're interested in the giveaway, to make sure Lauren is aware of that. So Lauren, if you want to go ahead and jump on, we can do the giveaway. We can answer any questions people may have, and then wrap up the webinar.
Sure. Yeah, 1 second.
If you're still trying to make sure you're sorting your spreadsheet and doing it at random, and you need a couple minutes, you can take a question or two too. So there is a question earlier. The several 100K member report. Are we talking aggregation or bringing out the details? So yeah, utilizing, from my experience, I've looked at a legacy report where, for example, on a Microsoft client trying to pull in 50,000 customers, and it just took forever. The application in general performed fine, but if you try to expand on the customer data set, it took a really long time. With the HANA platform, could expand on that same data set, and within the report, it will expand fast. So there is really a big difference utilizing the HANA database. So maybe on Microsoft, that report took 3 minutes. On HANA, with 50,000 customers, that report should take under 20 seconds. And you can expand that data set, so that's what I mentioned. You really go out beyond, what a lot of these EPM applications have done traditionally, and what some EPM applications will tell you need to do in a relational database. Well, if you have a database that's as powerful as HANA, then you can do it within this framework still. Not quite sure. I see some other questions. I'm not sure if I'm maybe I need to make this bigger. Okay, let me just look at this. Okay, so Simon, your question is migration process of EPM 10 to 11. We have a ton. So the EPM add-in is the same. Obviously, they have updated versions of the EPM add-in, but the EPM add-in is the same. As long as your environment is the same, in some of the older reports, I think they actually changed this option, but you had to basically say, ignore the environment connection, so that if you opened up a new environment, it would just look to see if the dimensions and everything matched. So the reports will migrate over. Now, I haven't tested EV degrees, so that's a really, or wait, have we? Yeah, we might have run some EV degrees in the demo environment that we brought over. I can't tell you in depth for an in-depth answer yet for that one, unfortunately. Is the report writing the same in BPC 11 as it is in 10.1? The answer is yes. Hopefully just faster. Another question. BPC 11 has IP pack functionality, is just how we have in embedded. Yes, it does. And I didn't really cover that on the product update, but they've made some, as far as BPC embedded, which is really targeted at, legacy IP, BW IP shops, BCS shops, all SAP shops that really want to take advantage of the integration, doesn't require replicated master data, replicated transactional data. It's a little bit more IT managed tool than finance, but just as a background, another deployment option for shops that are primarily SAP, still part of BPC, same licensing. So anyway, but yeah, the answer to that is yes, and BPC 11 has quite a few enhancements on the consolidation side, and with the process flows and everything. I think we did a demo, a webinar later last year or mid last year that showed some of that. But yeah, they've made a lot of improvements there, which was good to see. Will BPC 11 work for BW? Work with SAP ECC? Yes. Okay. Backward integration has not been tested. Do you know if it is supported? So this is from Laura. Laura, are you meaning pushing your data back to S4 or pushing your data back to SAP ECC? If that is the question, I don't even know I would necessarily say there's standard integration today backwards. There's kind of like best practices. And, if you want to send me a separate note, I'll put my contact information up here. My technical person would be better to answer that question than myself. But, I mean, from a technical perspective, I don't see any reason that there would be, any issue there, right? I mean, I would say like 95% yes. But I wouldn't necessarily call it standard, but yeah, supported, yes. A standard approach, per se. Using EVDRE. Okay. Well, yeah, I'm not sure if I answered your question, Laura, but feel free to send me a note. All right, Lauren, are you ready? I think that's all the questions. There's a lot of questions today.
Yeah, we're ready. So the winners for financials are Frederick from AIG, Krishna from Morton Salt, and June from Menasha. So congrats, guys. I'll be emailing you with John to kind of follow up about that and give you all the details. We really appreciate you attending the webinar and look forward to having you join us at Financials.
Awesome. And for those winners, those badges are sponsored by ourselves and our hosting partner, Symmetry and PCS. Thank you both for being good partners and supporting this. And we look forward to seeing you at Financials. We would like a chance to sit down and connect at some point, but briefly. But that's all we'll ask. And otherwise, enjoy yourself and hopefully you find it a valuable event. All right. Well, thank you all. Lauren, anything else? Are we all set to wrap up?
No, we're all set. Thanks so much, everyone.
All right. Thank you.